Hey there, what's going on guys? Today, let's check out 20 village seeds for Minecraft 1.17.1 on Minecraft Java Edition. These seeds will not work for Minecraft Bedrock Edition and are only for Minecraft Java Edition. All coordinates for locations shown in this video will be in a link in my description in one easy place on a blog post for you. Alright, let's get started. Let's go ahead and start off with this seed that has a shipwreck village right at spawn. Aside from the shipwreck, it's a pretty nice looking ocean savanna village. I like how this path goes right along the beach like a boardwalk almost. Of course, that land shipwreck really makes this village uncommon. It's got a bunch of different types of wood, and it's right next to a village building. If I clear out this area, this is what the shipwreck looks like. Inside of the shipwreck, this is the loot I was able to find. Right under the little ocean village path, there is an ocean ruin. After digging around, I was able to find this chest with some loot. I think this is a pretty cool village to start off this video with. Next up, we have a seed with a zombie village near spawn. Abandoned zombie villages are quite rare to find, so having one at spawn is a bit unique. This one happens to be a taiga village. A ravine generates right next to the village and extends underneath the village. This building here is a blacksmith building. I found this loot inside of it, so that's a nice zombie village here early in this video. In the next seed, we have a plains village at spawn. It happens to be a blacksmith village too. Of course, blacksmiths are nice because you get the loot inside, which sometimes is pretty useful. This is the loot I found in this one. Along with the village, this seed could be a nice place for building too within this nice big plains biome surrounded by some forest types and some water. Now let's check out this seed, which has a plains village that generates surrounded by a desert. Within that desert is a couple of temples. That puts this village between two different desert temples. Within the village itself, we have a ravine. A small part of the blacksmith building actually generates floating over the ravine. Inside of that blacksmith, I found this loot. One of the desert temples is just north of the village. A small portion of the temple generates within a desert hill. Inside of the temple, I found this loot in the first chest, the second chest, the third chest, and the final chest. The second temple is just west of the village. You can see that the village is fully above ground and next to some water. Within this temple, I found this loot in the first chest, the second chest, the third chest, and the last chest. On the way to this temple, you actually pass by a ruined portal too. This edge of the hilly terrain gives a look at how far the netherrack stretches down. Within the chest, I found this loot. Finally, I just want to share this little piece of shattered savanna here that generates on the edge of a desert. It really creates some crazy looking terrain. So a pretty cool seed here with that plains village at spawn near a couple of desert temples. This seed here has a savanna village at spawn. I really like the location of this village. The hills around the village create a really cool look for it. The buildings just sitting on the edge of the hills look really awesome. Could create for a great building location within the savanna. There's also a big ravine that generates right next to the village. It connects right into another ravine with a mine shaft. I love the look of these chains in mine shafts. At seed number 15, I want to share this interesting looking village. It actually has a building that generates floating. You can see that this is another village that generates next to some savanna hills. This one happens to be a plains village, and within those savanna hills generates a cave opening. That's how this building generates floating, and this villager gets stuck. More of the village actually generates on top of the hill too. You can also find a ruined portal near spawn too. It generates within the savanna, surrounded by a lot of hills. This is a loot I found within the chest here. Of course though, that floating building is why I really wanted to share this seed with you guys. Next up, we have a double village seed. What I mean by that is that you spawn between two villages. Both villages are a bit small, but I really love this seed as a building seed. It's got a nice, clear, flattish plains biome surrounded by some hills, forests, and an ocean. The terrain also has a pretty cool shape, if that makes sense. This is the first small village. It's right on the edge of some wooded hills, a forest, and a river. This is the other small village. It generates near a forest, a taiga, and an ocean with some icebergs out there that you can see. If you're looking for some more interesting things in this seed, travel over to these mountains and find this ruined portal. It generates inside of this hill, causing a big opening. This is a loot I was able to find here. There's also a pillager outpost in the taiga near spawn. It's just the tower generating by itself. This is the loot I found at the top of it. Of course, the double village plains at spawn make this seed worth checking out, especially if you are looking for a seed for building. Now we have a seed with a taiga village right near spawn. The village is actually quite small, it only has 6 total buildings. I like the location of the building with it being right next to a river. The village may not be the first thing you notice in this seed though. That's because there's a jungle right next to spawn with a jungle temple. The temple generates right on the edge of the taiga biome and next to some water. Inside of the temple, I broke into this redstone section and found this loot, and continued breaking through the blocks to get to the other chest with more loot. This is a pretty cool seed with a jungle temple and a taiga village near spawn. In this seed, I want to share an Oceanside village with you guys. I love the look of Oceanside villages, just a great atmosphere for the village to be. And it could be a great place to build a nice reconstruction of the village into an Oceanside town. It also happens to be a blacksmith village. This is the loot I found here. Within the ocean, you can find a monument only about 550-ish blocks away. That's a great distance for the monument to be. Not too far, not too close. Great having it near spawn in my opinion. I really like this seed a lot. Here we have a seed that has a bit of a unique location for a village. It actually generates within a sunflower plains biome. Villages don't naturally spawn within sunflower plains, so this one has a small piece of the normal plains force the majority of this village to generate within the sunflower plains. It's pretty cool to see the village buildings be surrounded by sunflowers, I think. Getting into the final 10 seeds, we have this double blacksmith village. In this case, that means there are 2 blacksmith buildings that generate in this village. They actually generate close to each other too. Inside of the first blacksmith, I found this loot, and inside of the second blacksmith, I found this loot. I get a full set of iron armor by the 2 blacksmiths, plus more. I actually just wanted to point out that mountain near the village, a nice backdrop for it, I think. Next up, let's take a look at this seed with a village that is within some ice spikes. Not often you see a village around ice spikes like this one. And add in the fact that it's at spawn, it just makes this seed really awesome. The village is actually quite small in size, and I think that's awesome. Really fits into the feel of not many people wanting to live out in the cold climate like this. One of the buildings is this blacksmith. I found this loot inside of it. Travel southwest of spawn and you can come across another village. This is another one that's near some ice spikes. Just an awesome scene. I really was thrilled about finding this seed with a village at spawn so close to ice spikes. Now I want to show you a double desert village seed. You spawn in this dark forest, and ahead you can see a desert village. The village is actually pretty big. There's a ton of buildings in it, and it stretches across a decent distance. Definitely one of the bigger villages we are seeing in this video. Right nearby you can find another desert village. The village itself is a bit smaller, but there's a desert temple inside of it. The temple is a nice full temple, just partly tucked into a desert sand hill. Inside of the temple, I found a Power 5 book in the first chest, some iron in the second chest, another book in the third chest, and some gold in the fourth chest. If you're somebody looking for a desert seed, this could be a nice one for you. Now let's look at a seed that is super unique. It's actually got a village, a ruined portal, and a desert temple all in the same spot. Not sure I've ever actually discovered a seed with that happen before. Of course, you can easily see the village with all of the buildings. The desert temple is pretty easy to see too, but the ruined portal just barely sticks out of the ground here. If you want to find the ruined portal chest, you'll have to dig a bit. This is the loot I found inside of it. Within the desert temple, I found this loot in the first chest, this loot in the second chest, this loot in the third chest, and this loot in the fourth chest. You also have a village building that generates inside of the temple. You can see on this map that there are some other places to explore fairly close to spawn, but I want to just show you this really awesome spawn location with 3 different structures in one location. In this next seed, we have a village that generates on the edge of a shattered savanna. Rather than being a savanna village though, this one is actually a desert village. Shattered savannas create some really wild looking terrain, and this one didn't disappoint in that aspect of things. You can see the village buildings stretch right up and around the shattered savanna terrain here. It just creates a wild look for this village, one that you don't see for a typical village. It also happens to be a blacksmith village, so I found this loot within that blacksmith building. Overall, I just think this is a super unique look for a village. Getting into the final 5 seeds here, we have a seed with a mansion and a pillager outpost right between 2 villages. You can see just how the structures generate with this view from Mine Map. The first village is a plains village. Most of it generates on the edge or within the dark forest biome. Included within the village is a blacksmith, of which I found this loot inside. Just southwest of the village is where you'll find the woodland mansion. I'm providing the coordinates of the front entrance. On the bottom floor of the mansion, I found a few different rooms to farm crops. On the middle floor, I found an arena room which has this loot in it. And on the top floor, I counted 8 rooms, including another arena room with this loot. Just behind the mansion is the pillager outpost. It generates with a couple of cages and a tent. On the top of the outpost tower, I found this loot. And getting over to the second village, you can see it is another plains village. It's a super small plains village surrounded by a roofed forest. There is a blacksmith in this village too, and I found this loot in it. If you want to continue on, you can make your way over to this pillager outpost. It's in a taiga biome and it generates with some scarecrow targets and a tent. I found this loot at the top of the outpost tower. And finally, you can travel over to this ruined portal. It's a giant portal in the taiga biome and on the edge of a river and near a mountain. In the chest here, I found this loot. Of course, all the traveling to location to this seed started with this blacksmith village at spawn. Next up, we've got a seed with some wild terrain. A mushroom island generates right next to a savanna biome. Then we throw in a savanna village and we get some wild looking terrain. It's all hilly and, well, it's just a mess. We even have an acacia tree growing in the mushroom fields. The village itself is pretty small, but I thought the way this terrain generates makes this seed worth seeing. Getting into the final 3 seeds here, I'm just going to start off on this one with showing you the map of the seed. There's 3 villages near spawn and a super tiny mesa biome. I really like this mesa biome. It's just such a small biome and it looks really cool. I can literally see the entire biome with my render distance by flying up in the air. The village closest to spawn is this one. It's a small desert village that stretches into a roofed forest. The village also goes over a river, and within the river is a cave opening. It leads right to a zombie spawner dungeon. Obviously great to have a spawner close to spawn and easy to access. Inside of one chest here I found this loot, and inside of the other chest I found this loot. One of the other villages is pretty close by. This one is a plains village. It's a pretty big plains village too. I like how this one is right on the edge of a mountain. A cool place for it to generate. The final village is right on the edge of the mesa biome. It's a super tiny desert village, just a few buildings here. The village is also near some mountains too, so more cool terrain. But yeah, this is a really awesome seed, especially with that small mesa biome right at spawn. Now we have a seed that I personally really like. At this point, a lot of you already know I love island village seeds. This one is a bit different than the usual island villages that I usually show though. As you can see, it's a taiga island, which of course means you get this spruce built village. On the other side of the island, there is a shipwreck. If I clear out the area, this is what the ship looks like. I found this loot in it. The ship makes it seem like the people of the village crashed into the island and ultimately built up their own little village here to survive. They decided that the opposite side of the island from the crash was their best place for it. Within the small village, there is a blacksmith building. I found this loot inside of it. As I said, I really like this island village seed. Finally, to finish off this video, we are going to check out a classic mansion village seed. Right in the little plains biome near spawn is a village, and the village buildings are basically in a straight line, except for this last little one. I don't know, just thought that was interesting. Among the buildings, we find a church and a blacksmith. I found some really great loot here, including a lot of iron armor and a diamond. What I like most about this seed is that from the plains and the village, you really wouldn't know that the mansion is there. The hilly terrain of the dark forest just covers your vision of it. Pretty cool. Might want to cover up this lava quickly though, so you don't burn down everything. On screen now, you can see the coordinates to the front entrance of the mansion. On the bottom floor of the mansion, there's a couple of these blocked off rooms, which has a tree and axe inside. On the middle floor, I found this arena room with this loot. And on the top floor, I counted 8 total rooms, including a hidden room with some loot. The terrain around the mansion is really awesome too, as it includes a flower forest. Speaking of biomes, on the opposite side of spawn, you can get to a mesa or badlands biome. It generates right on the edge of an ocean. It's so nice having a mesa so close to spawn. So this seed is a pretty cool one with that small plains village near spawn and a woodland mansion that you can hardly see. Well, there you have 20 village seeds that are working for the 1.17.1 Java editions of Minecraft. Let me know which one of the seeds in this video is your favorite. Also, in the comments, share any seeds that you think people should check out. Be sure to check out my blog post for all the coordinates and information about the seed in this video. If you want to help me out, leave a like on this video. For more Minecraft videos, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me. Thank you so much.